Good evening, everyone. I am Reverend Susan Nason, and I am delighted to join with Reverend Joshua Ellis and Reverend Lynn Manuell for this gathering. We are so excited to be with you tonight. Reverend Diane Burke and Reverend Nick Bullitt, I'm not sure if she's on, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to present tonight. And David, Renata, thank you so much for making this possible, that you do this on Zoom for us. I've been so moved by the gathering's offerings these past months that I decided to reach out to two people in my study group and ask them to join me in putting together a gathering. And they immediately said yes. When the three of us began discussing what we can offer to all of you during this gathering, we realized that each of us has a unique way in which we listen, and we'd like to share that with you. We'd like to share our ways with all of you. Josh is going to tell us a story of finding a resource deep inside his soul, and Lynn is going to help us deal with difficult people in our lives. And I'm going to do a role play with my dear spiritual counseling classmate and colleague, Reverend Mary Lou Driscoll, who was ordained from One Spirit Interfaith Seminary in 2011, and is a graduate of interspiritual counseling. Reverend Mary Lou has worked many years as a mental health nurse in New York City and currently has a spiritual counseling practice of her own. She and I will demonstrate how to implement the resources and techniques that Josh and Lynn and I apply daily. There will be two musical treats as well, as our songbird Lynn brings us into the space with song and prayer and closes the space with another song from her CD, A Return to Love. We hope you will all enjoy our presentation, perhaps learn a new technique or hone one you already have. We also know that each and every one of us is still impacted by COVID and is in gatherings in the past. If you have anything you'd like to share in the chat about what's happening in your life or in the life of a loved one in regards to COVID, please do. We're all in service to help each other. So please let us help each other when we can. If someone posts something in the chat box that you can assist in any way, please feel free to reach out to that person. And now Josh, Lynn, and I will light a candle as we invite you to drop into the loving energy of the gathering as we explore three different tools for conscious listening. Now turn the next few minutes over to Reverend Lynn Manuell.
So we're going to open with, a prayer. So please take a deep breath. And if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, close your eyes. Tonight, as we gather together, we're grateful for the opportunity to share with each other. We acknowledge those who have been affected by COVID-19. We know that love and support surround them each and every day. We know that we are in a nation that has many concerns, and we are grateful for the opportunity to always go within and find divine presence, which allows us to be guided to what is ours to do. We pray for enlightened consciousness as we navigate through challenges and seeming divisiveness around us. And we are grateful for our spiritual community, which allows us to gather and share these tools that each of us have. And we know that God and Spirit guide us every day. And so it is. Amen. So I'm also going to share with you a song, and it's a song that I am sure almost all of you know. So we don't have our mics on, but feel free to sing along in your Zoom square and clap in your Zoom square. And the reason we picked this song is because these are tools we're teaching tonight. And it's also a song that right now is incredibly potent. So be ready to join along. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring in danger, I'd ring out a warning, I'd ring in love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing it in danger, I'd sing out a warning, I'd sing in love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Well, I've got a hammer, and I've got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song between love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land, all over this land, all over this land.
Wow, Lynn, I know we rehearsed it. I'm blown away still by your powerful and beautiful voice. Thank you for sharing that gift with us. And a very moving prayer. So perfect for our theme tonight of having a tool that we can use with love. And now we will hear from Josh.
Hello, I'm Josh Ellis, and welcome to my home. Tonight, I would like to tell you about a long-term relationship I've had for over 25 years. The relationship is with what I call my inner loving voice. But first, I would like to provide a little background. To obtain a level of objectivity, I'd like to read a short descriptive paragraph from the New York Times, dated March 15th, 2008. Quote, "A crane towering over a high-rise construction site in Midtown Manhattan collapsed in a roar of rending steel, raining destruction across a city block as it slashed down on a large apartment building, crushed a townhouse, and cut away a tenement facade. It was a calamity that turned a neighborhood into a zone of panic, pulverized buildings, wailing sirens, evacuations, and searches in the massive rubble for covered bodies in the street." End quote. In a word, oi. And this was to be my first deployment as a disaster chaplain. On exiting South Pacific at Lincoln Center, I turned on my cell phone and was alerted to deploy to a Red Cross shelter set up in a high school on East 57th Street. My shift would be midnight to 8 a.m. The largest issue that night looming was that the crane operators were still buried under the rubble. But in the middle of the night, no one knew if they were alive or dead, and the search for the bodies could not begin until the following morning when the sun came up. About 3 a.m., I was asked to join a family of one of the crane operators. The Red Cross offered us a secluded room in which to do this. It turned out to be the Xerox room of the high school. We crowded in, the wife, the son, the daughter, the father, the brothers, various other relatives, and close friends. As a disaster chaplain, or as what we now call a disaster spiritual care provider, my responsibility is to serve all, never self-identifying as a specific religion or faith tradition. We never use a disaster to proselytize. Being an inner spiritual minister trained at One Spirit was excellent training for that. That said, I immediately sensed that the family I was with was Italian Catholic. They threw a lot of questions in my direction, most like, how could God let something like this happen to such a good man? And where is God in all this? And this brings me to tonight's gathering. I had no answer for that family's questions. I could hear the panic in their voice, but I didn't know what to say. In something verging on panic, I turned to my inner loving voice. Thank goodness I had the presence of mind to do that. I asked my inner loving voice the only question I ever asked it. I said, what is it I need to know? My inner voice responded immediately. Listen. Listen as you have never listened before. Listen to what they say. If you have an urge to speak, it's only your ego wanting to be in control. Resist the temptation. Keep quiet. Not needing to verbally respond to the family opened me up to the deepest listening I have ever experienced. And for over an hour, I listened to them express every emotion in the book: raw anger, impatience, frustration, bafflement, fear, loss of faith, and powerlessness. After they seemed to talk themselves out, there was complete silence in the room. Was this my cue to say something profound? I stayed silent. We all sat with no one speaking. I have to admit that silence was just painful. But after a few minutes, the crane operator's brother, who had taken on the family's leadership role, spoke. He said to me, Father, your words were so comforting to us. Oh, did that comment catch me off guard? Father, does he think I'm a priest? I never said anything about my own religion, but at 3 a.m. at a Red Cross shelter, they must have needed a priest, and given the situation, I served in that role for them in silence. But let's refocus. I had momentarily been distracted from the greater reality of that moment. A miracle, a genuine miracle in that moment. I hadn't said a word, but they heard what they needed to hear. I call it grace. Thank you, inner loving voice. So let me tell you about my inner loving voice and share with you the wonderful news that we all have one. It broadcasts 24/7, 365. It's only a question of tuning in. I selected the word broadcast very specifically. Most of us have cable TV. How many channels do you have access to? Right now in the USA, there are 652 separate networks, and each network broadcasts around the clock. You can choose to tune into any one of those 652 channels, or you can keep your television turned off. But just imagine if you had one channel that was reserved just for you. Let's call that channel the inner loving voice. So how do I tune into this inner loving voice? For me, it started over 25 years ago during morning pages, a spiritual practice that's a vital component of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, a book I highly, highly recommend. Within a short time, I realized I was chatting directly with my higher power. And I have to tell you, that felt weird. I think at the time I needed some sort of permission. Help was provided by reading The Conversation with God books by Neil Donald Walsh, The Direct Path by Andrew Harvey, and just about everything I ever heard, read, or saw by Louise Hay. The three of them made chatting directly with my higher power seem comfortable and normal. It's really not a big deal. In other words, permission was granted, although of course I never needed that permission in the first place. It started like this. I sat down at my desk, opened my journal, and recorded the day, date, time, place, weather, my weight, and my blood sugar level. And then I wrote down every issue that was pulsing in my mind. The good, the bad, the ugly, the confusing, the irritating, the sadness, the joy, the relief, whatever. Bullet points, full sentences, half sentences, anything that came into my mind was on the page. I never edited it. Though sometimes I have to tell you, it was really raw, deeply personal, and emotionally draining. But again, in my head, on the page. No one edits my morning pages and no one looks at them. Then when the aspect of writing felt complete, it usually takes about 15 minutes. I asked my inner loving voice just that same question for 25 years. What is it I need to know? Not what is it I need to do? And then I listen. A response always follows, sometimes immediately, sometimes after a short while. The inner loving voice speaks. I hear a voice in my head. I write down what it's saying word for word in my journal. Its specificity often leaves me in awe. For example, about a week ago, I was directed to reread lesson 31 from A Course in Miracles. I didn't know what that lesson contained. After completing my writing, I reread lesson 31. It's called, I Am Not the Victim of the World I See. And reading it, I knew exactly what I needed to know the morning after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It helped me in my state of wobble. While I'm writing my journal, I let go of all expectations. There's no effort involved. I have no special breathing technique, no meditation. The inner love voice wants to speak. I need to listen. It's direct, it's kind, never judgmental, always loving. In fact, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that it's more loving to me than I am to myself. So, what's the source of this inner loving voice? Call it what you will. God, great wisdom, the light, higher power. That's for you to decide for yourself. Sometimes I call my inner loving voice Reverend Joyce Lichtenstein. Reverend Joyce was my late beloved teacher and friend who co-founded One Spirit with Reverend Diane Burke. Joyce is still so much a part of me. Her wisdom, her humor, and her unconditional love of me that I never really understood. A practical question. Is my inner loving voice always accessible? Well, almost. When I am in a bad mood, it says, you are not receptive. Come back when you're able to listen. Over the past 25 years, I have developed a shortcut access to my inner loving voice in emergency situations where I am desperately in need of a quick reply. This has happened on a subway car, a hospital room, a classroom, an office, backstage at the theater, while doing spiritual counseling, officiating at a wedding or a funeral, or just standing in a long line anywhere. I just ask, what is it I need to know? And it tells me immediately. What it says is often a huge surprise to me. I ask myself, where did that insight come from? And the inner loving voice replies, does it matter? Over a 25-year period, I have never ceased to be amazed. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. That was so beautiful. Such an intimate glimpse into how you tap into the divine. You've given us so much to think about, or perhaps remind us each to thank our own inner loving voice and pay it more heed. And I'm touched by your reference to Joyce, because she helped you find perhaps your inner loving voice. She helped me find my voice that I'm using tonight. I'm now pleased to turn the next portion of our offering tonight over to Reverend Lynn Manuell, who will lead us in a guided meditation to help us overcome differences in points of view. Lynn?
Hi. So I'm going to be addressing the way in which we can keep our association with loved ones when we don't agree. And I know that at this time, there are many people who feel it's necessary to kind of cut losses with people they don't agree with on their political points of view or any other things that are going on. But I've chosen to listen and to try to understand or to try to educate people in areas they might be open to. So I'm going to share with you a meditation that I've used whenever things have become challenging between myself and friends that don't share my same opinions. And there are many people in my life who, for reasons why in their lives, they don't believe the same political things I do. And most of them, it comes from personal experience. Sometimes it comes from whatever news outlet they happen to be listening to. But it has been my choice to not let any outside influences change my personal life as our country has changed. So if this is a choice you wish to make, I'm going to share with you how I've managed to actually do this. So I have this dear friend, and we don't agree politically, but we share many unique times together. We worked at CATS together. I was at her wedding. I was in the room hours after her child was born, and we ate a chocolate cake with our hands in the subway that was left for us because we had no utensils. So we have an overall relationship that I feel is really important and that I want to keep in my life. So I would like to try to share how I've worked with this. And I'd like to invite you to take a moment and select in your mind someone who's been in your life for a long time. And it could be a family member, it could be a close friend that you may not agree with on politics or things going on in the country. But I invite you to see that person in your mind's eye. You can close your eyes if you want and visualize them, or you don't have to. Now, I invite you to take a deep breath and to think about why you have an association with this person. It might be that you were born into the same family and that you shared your childhood, or that you've had many common experiences. It might be that you went to school together, or that you worked together in a professional way, and that you've stayed friends for many, many years. Now, I invite you to think about things that you've shared that were positive. Whether it's being in each other's weddings, being there like I was for my friend when her children were born, celebrating milestones together. And I'd like you, like my chocolate cake analogy, to think of one particular incident that brings joy to your heart. And I invite you to think about this person with affection and acknowledge that we are each individual, that we are each colored by our own experiences. And I invite you to open your heart to that person in your mind and see them opening their hearts to yours. And I now invite you to bless them in your mind. Please say aloud or think the following. My dear friend, and you can use their name, my friend or family member. I am grateful for all our common experiences and that you're in my life. I'm not going to allow any outside influences or any negative behavior to change our relationship. I will seek to engage with what we have in common, and I will honor our history together. Now, I invite you to give them a farewell, acknowledge them, and return to the room. I'm aware that this might not work for everyone. However, I have found it particularly helpful with people who've been in my life for many years, who I've shared a lot outside of politics and who are willing to communicate. Some people can't at this time, and it might be easier for self-care to not communicate right now. But I will always, as a teacher, I've always said to my students who experience bullying that if we give energy to the bully wins. And we can control our lives and not allow differences to cause rift in lifelong relationships if that's the path we choose. If we choose to focus on the positives with those in our lives. And I hope this is helpful for those who wish to use it. And now Susie's coming back.
Lynn, this is so helpful. I know I'll be reminding myself to be very gentle and listen attentively to the feelings of another person, even if I disagree with them. Thank you for giving us the thanks. Thank you for giving us the tools. Your meditation allowed me to go deep into opening my heart to someone I disagree with. And hopefully I'll be reminded, and it will help me maintain my relationship with them. So there you have it, 2 ways to listen. And now Reverend Mary Lou and I are going to put these 2 skills into action. During this portion of the presentation, I will introduce ways to allow the person I am listening to know that they are truly heard. You'll notice me say phrases like, I'm wondering if, or I may simply acknowledge their feelings. I might also mirror back what the person has said as a way to let them know I'm actively listening and that I'm willing to be corrected in my assumptions if they feel that they need to correct me. Whenever I speak with someone, I want that energetic umbilical cord that we all have between anyone we know to be pulsing with love. Conscious listening is that sweet spot of being fully present for another human being as they grapple with whatever challenging issues they are facing. The act of being intentionally present during communication between another human being and yourself, while being aware of your own and the other person's feelings and needs. Mary and Lou and I purposely did not practice our portion of the presentation. So let's begin and see what unfolds. As you listen and watch my offering, I invite you to think, are you the person in need of listening, or are you the listener? By the way, there may be periods of silence as Mary Lou organizes her thoughts and feelings and sorts through what she has uncovered and discovered and comes to her own conclusions as she listens to her own inner loving voice. So Mary Lou, if I may, I'm going to ask Josh to tell us when we have about 5 minutes left to our segment. And I'm noticing it's 7:32. So Josh, should we say at 7:45 that Mary Lou and I should be finished, please? And David, I see you've highlighted Mary Lou. Thank you so much. Reverend Mary Lou and I are going to begin our portion. And imagine, if you will, that Mary Lou and I are leaving an interfaith service at the same time. And she asks if she can speak with me about something that's on her mind.
Yes, good evening, Reverend Susie. Yeah, I'm very concerned about coping with this bully. A bully that lives in my community. Okay, and yeah, his name is John. Okay, and I feel he's been a bully to me and to some of my neighbors. Okay, for maybe the last 3, maybe 4 years. and I feel so sad sometimes and disappointed when he lies all the time, and he's so unkind. And I remember a teacher telling me, when someone disappoints you so much, that it's very important for you not to disappoint others. So I'm trying to, keep my mental health good, and live in this state of anger. I'm aware of the just the horribleness of, there's not too much I can do, and it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
It sounds like it's so uncomfortable, and you have so many feelings going on at the same time about being bullied, that you're angry, you're uncomfortable. I'm wondering if you're also a little scared, and you also have so much care for your neighbors who are also in the path of this person's anger. It's a
Yeah.
lot to sit with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've tried, writing poetry, you know, um, focusing on positive things, but it's really hard. And what I have been finding, though, that if I pray for the person, the bully, I just surround him with love and light, and pray for his enlightenment. And then the anger that I feel kind of changes to a prayer, for the person. And then maybe there's some hope that the person can change, or maybe I can change, because not he may not change. The situation may even get worse. We don't know. So
It sounds like you realize that you're the one that needs to make some kind of adjustment. And it's so interesting that you found artistic, creative ways to do that, and also a spiritual way to do that.
yes.
I'm wondering if you'd like to share one of your prayers with me about what you say when you're feeling bullied.
Yeah. I have a poem about Ruth Bader Ginsburg that I don't know if I can find it. So let me. Yes. Yeah. Right. Let me see if I can find it. So just one second. Yeah.
Mary Lou, while you're doing that, I'm going to come out of character and just talk a little bit about what happened.
Okay, sure.
But when you find it, I'm sure we'd all love to hear it. So I'm sure you all noticed that I let Mary Lou say what she needed to say, and that she was very clear in how she was feeling. Scared. I added scared. Sorry, she was angry, uncomfortable, and concerned about her neighbors. And so I let her have those feelings. I didn't try to talk her out of those feelings. I also didn't rush her to find a solution. And ironically, she was able to tell me what she's been trying. And I think that you could see that she was lighter when she was talking about the things that she's tried. And then if you're in this position, you are the one that's listening, if you could open the door for someone to share their creativity with you, it empowers them so much to be able to say it out to someone else and not to the bully. So I'm wondering, I'm going to check in with Mary Lou and see if she found the poem.
Let me see. No, I haven't found it just yet. I'm getting there.
See, this is what happens when you don't rehearse. I didn't know she was going to bring
Yeah.
up RBG.
Yeah,
Glad I had my statue.
Yeah.
Mary Lou, maybe we could drop back in.
I got it.
Okay, great.
Okay. But a tribute to the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay. To you, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, We honor your career, your dedication to real justice as we shed a tear, a trailblazer and an icon, an inspiration to us all. You persisted and dissented. You heard the clarion call. Standing up for civil rights, you were a shining star, revered and loved by many in countries near and far, working tirelessly for everyone, for what you felt was right. And up until your dying day, you never gave up the fight. So as we mourn your passing, we raise a glass to you, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a patriot through and through. You will not be forgotten. Your legacy lives on. History will remember you long after you are gone.
Thank you, Mary Lou. I'm so glad you shared that with me and with all of us. But I'm going to drop back into my role now as the
Yeah.
person that you asked to speak to. So, Mary Lou, I hear that you really used such a strong description about RBG. I'm wondering what you bring of her into yourself, especially when you're facing a bully.
Yeah, that's yeah, because I admire her so much, and her leadership qualities, her speaking truth to power, and she has dealt with many bullies and still dealing with them. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, yeah, and so yeah, that's what I, just flex my muscles and pray for the person. But in real life, really, action is required too, setting limits and holding people accountable, and
Mhm.
and if it's appropriate, voting.
Voting.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering,
yeah.
let's do a little role play within our role play. I'm going to be the bully. Have no idea what this person's bullying you about, and I don't think that that's critical. I'm just going to be here. Say whatever you want to me.
So you're bullying me. How are you feeling today?
You know what? I'm really angry, and I'm angry at you.
Okay, can you tell me more about your anger?
You make too much noise. We share a wall at home. My apartment's right next to yours, and you are too noisy.
That's funny because I feel the same way about you. That you make so much noise. It's
Well, what do you know? You're the one that's making noise.
I know because I hear the noise all the time, and it's really disrespectful. It's very unkind. So why don't we make an agreement that we'll call each other. If the noise is too much, we'll let the phone ring 3 times and then, or just talk on the phone and just say, stop the noise, like what the other person said at the the debate the other night. Will you shut up?
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yes, he did say, will you shut up? I'm thinking that if you were talking to someone who is in a good place and had some mental health, that they might agree to that. But would you switch with me now? Will you be the bully and I'll be you? And I'm going to offer you how to use some of the tools that we've just been talking about in speaking with that bully.
Okay, yeah. So,
And I want to just do a quick time check. We have about 3 or 4 more minutes. So you are now the bully and I'm you. So, hey, how are you today?
I'm really angry at you for making so much noise and just being so obnoxious.
Wow, you're angry. You're having really strong feelings about what I do and how I act.
Yeah, it's very inconsiderate.
You find me really inconsiderate. That must be really hard for us to share a wall that way.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything you can do about it?
Um, I don't even know when I'm making noise, so maybe we could figure out a way that you could let me know, and I'll ask the same about you, that I could let you know when there's some noise.
Okay, so I'll give you a call. If you don't mind if I call you at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're partying and yeah.
That might be hard for me, but you know what? Let's give it a try. I may call you at 6 in the morning when you're making noise.
Okay, okay. And I'll leave a message if you don't pick up.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and see if we can, work this out somehow.
And you know what? Thanks for asking how I was. It really opened a door.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, makes me feel good. Yeah.
So I think, Mary Lou, you and I might have come to a natural conclusion to our part. And I'm wondering if you want to talk about, especially when you played the part of the bully and I acknowledged your feelings, how did that feel in comparison to when you played the bully, when I played the bully and you sort of talked back at me?
It kind of dispersed the feelings, the anger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, thank you so much. And thank you for doing this with me
Oh,
without rehearsing.
Yeah.
I think that what I was trying to bring to light definitely came to light. And I hope that people who are watching could see also that when we actually listen to how someone is feeling, it settles them down. It gives them space that then to maybe be willing to work with you on the problem. But it definitely stops them from escalating into, but you did this and you did this and you did this. So I hope that all of you will give it a try. I'm going to check in. Oh, we're at 7:46, so I think we're good. Thanks.
Good. So
Thank you, Mary Lou.
say a prayer for the bullies that they learn to diffuse their anger appropriately. Yeah.
So one way to help a bully diffuse their anger is to acknowledge that they're angry.
Yeah. Okay. And to accept it and work with it. Yeah.
To first acknowledge it. Wow, you're so angry. You're so disappointed. You're so upset. It gives the person that you're saying that to the chance to sort of check in with themselves. Yeah, I am angry, or I am upset, or you know what? I'm not angry. I'm just so sad and I don't know how to express it.
Yeah, sure. And you non-judgmental, being
Non-judgmental. That is
That's
correct.
it.
Thanks, Mary Lou. I'm going to move into the rest of the program. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
You.
So as we bring this gathering to a close, Lynn will lead us in a closing prayer, and we'll have the opportunity to hear a song from her CD named Return to Love.
Oh.
So yeah, before I pray, I'll just tell you that the CD was actually recorded in honor of my mother and to raise money for a theater that she was on the board. And so it's out there, and I hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, let's take another moment to go within. So please take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you feel like you wish to. And let's acknowledge the unique opportunity that we've been given here tonight. That we were allowed to hear different ways of working through communication skills, opening our hearts, and navigating through what has been a unique time in our history. I give gratitude for everyone who made this happen and for one spirit who brought us all together. I say, God bless us. And as we move forward, if we have gained a skill that we choose to use, we see that being the gift that keeps on giving. And so we say, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. And Josh, I'm so sorry. Lynn, I'm so sorry. I realized that I skipped over Josh, who I think wanted to say something.
I want to thank you, Susie, and I want to thank you, Mary Lou. What you did was very brave. Doing a whole segment in front of people for a gathering and not having to rehearse it so it stays spontaneous is really, really difficult. And I've known you in many capacities, Susie, and your ability to just go with it is really quite astonishing, because going with it is what this is all about. I mean, it's not like saying, oh, I can control this. It's giving up control, and at the same time going, okay, giving up control is not the worst thing that's ever happened in my life, which is a great lesson for me, and I hope for others. So thank you for your bravery and your deep ability to listen. You're an inspiration. Thank you. And thank you, Mary Lou, for also being in there as the guinea pig. Not easy stuff, honey. I get it.
Thank you so much, Josh. And now, David, if you can put on Lynn's CD in about 2 seconds. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. What a gift it has been to share all of our listening tools, our prayers, our songs. We hope your week ahead is filled with moments to try out or notice how you listen. And as we blow out our candles, we all say, Namaste.
Namaste.
In this world, we've been lost so long, we strain to hear a sweet forgotten song. Deep within, there's a place where love abides, outside time and space. We can return to love in a twinkling of an eye. We can return to love if we try. We can return to love, 'cause love is what we're made of. We can return to love. On our knees, we're still not strong. We're still full of dreams and thoughts of right and wrong, but only love conquers hate. Help us learn before it's too late. We can return to love in the twinkling of an eye. We can return to love if we try. We can return to love, 'cause love is what we're made of. We can return to love, you and I, only together. No one is healed alone. Sisters and brothers, return to love. We can return.
Hi, everybody. I think that David's going to unmute us all and we can visit.
Hey, thank you so much.
Ellis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. We're so glad you enjoyed it.